Hi everyone, Wismeril here. Today I want to update the ball lightning builds with the new Tal Rasha ring that is available since patch 1.2.2 just got live. I got a few comments requesting me to update all my ball lightning builds and asking me if it was best in slot to include that ring in each of the variants. So short answer is yes and no. It's a very good unique and it's best in slots in most of the variants, but in some of them we are not going to include it. Alright, first let's talk about why this ring is best in slot. There's a few reasons. The first one is obviously the multiplier that you get as a legendary power. If you deal 4 types of elemental damage, like you can do on the sorcerer class, fire, lightning, cold and poison, thanks to the vampiric power over there, that's a 60% damage multiplier. This is huge. It's one of the best multipliers we have available. It's going to, just for that reason, it's best in slot, because when you're looking purely for damage, this is going to do a lot more damage than, let's say, the conceded legendary that it's actually going to replace in some of the variants. You see, I was running this one before for 25% damage multiplier, and in some versions I was using the Edge Master, which was providing a 20% damage multiplier. So needless to say, a 60% damage multiplier is a lot better than a 20% damage multiplier. So that's the main reason why it's best in slot. Now there's a lot more to that. If we look at the affixes of that ring, it's missing the affixes that we like to have, such as crit chance. This one's very important and it's not there. And maximum mana, because maximum mana is helping a lot to get the most out of the elementalist legendary, where, you know, we get up to 60% additional critical strike chance when we cast spells above 100 mana. So those two are missing, but it's not that bad because this ring is doing a lot more for us than just those two roles, affixes roles. So what do we get instead of those two that are missing? We get cooldown reduction and non-physical damage. Cooldown reduction is an affix that we cannot get on rings. So we're pretty happy to get that actually on rings, because it's one of the best stats in the game, and we're very happy to stack more of that. Cooldown reduction was nerfed back in Season 1, one of the patches, reduced the values here and there, and we're super happy to have access to more of that. And last but not least, the non-physical damage. So this is additional additive damage. It all adds up in the additive bucket. But non-physical damage, unlike the other types of additive damage, will double dip for us. It double dips because there is this legendary power from the Frigid Fate board that was changed in Season 2. It's now something, a multiplier, that when we deal damage to vulnerable enemies will give us a multiplier, and this multiplier scales with cold damage. So stacking non-physical damage is cold damage, scales this multiplier while at the same time adding up in our additive bucket. So that's why it double dips. So it's pretty cool. On those ball lightning builds that I made before, where I'm using this Frigid Fate legendary Paragon board because it's best in slot, before I was only able to scale that node up to 26. Yeah, 26. That's the maximum I could get, because obviously we don't want to have that additive damage on items that we have. I was just scaling it with a few glyphs and a few rare and magic nodes that we were getting here and there. And now with the addition of this ring, on top of everything it's doing, which is already super nice for us, it's also scaling this multiplier to the maximum, to 30%. And you only need a roll of 33 non-physical damage to be able to scale that legendary all the way to 30. So you don't even need a max rolled one. Of course, if you get more, that's better, slightly better, because that's going to be plus 6% additive damage. In the long run, in the whole picture, it's not doing a lot. But yeah, you want to get it at 33, so you're going to scale this multiplier to its maximum. That's what you're looking for. And you want the 15% legendary power. Those are the two most important, I would say. Well, obviously, the better everywhere, great. But if you're just looking for damage, those are the two stats you want to have. So that's the reason why this ring is very good, especially in the ball lightning build. Another reason is the prefix on this ring. Normally on the ring you have all resistance as one prefix, and the other one is a resistance to something, to a specific element, while this one has 4.5 up to 4.5% for all elements, and there are 5 of them. So 5 times, let's round it up to 5, that's 25 you get instead of 12. So you get a lot more resistance from this. It's going to help us even out all our resistance to the maximum, which is 75 for fire, 75 for lightning. You see that we get them here, while not having max roll on our variable. We get 70 on cold, and we get 73 on poison if we run... Where are you? Well, we're not running in that variant, but if we would run this, we could go up to 73% on poison, because we do poison damage. The wording on this is not correct as per my testing. And then shadow up to 70%, and you don't need to have the max rolls on poison and shadow for that. You just need to be level 100, have this paragon board setup, and you have a few variable with the fire over there and the poison and shadow over there, but you can max it out very easily. So that's the final reason why this Tal Rasha iridescent loop is super nice, especially in the ball lightning build. Now, which variants do we want to include that, and which do we not want to include that ring? Let's start with the Nightmare Dungeon push versions. So for tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons, it's best in slot. It's going to replace the conceded legendary that was only 25% damage multiplier. Note that in this variant, we are not scaling it to 60%. We are not doing cold damage. We are only doing fire, lightning, poison. But the damage of this build is insane. So tier 100 is already a joke. You don't need the extra 15% scaling. You would rather focus on not dying. And Lightning Spear is doing that for you. It's stunning a lot of enemies here and there, especially ranged enemies with bows. So that's participating to your survivability, which is a lot more important, in my opinion, when it comes to Nightmare Dungeons tier 100. So that's why it's best in slot not to scale to get the remaining cold damage over there to get the 60%. 45 is already enough. Before you used to have 25, now you get 45, that's a lot more. You don't need to scale it all the way. Survivability first. When it comes to the hardcore version of Ball Lightning, we're only going to scale it to 30%, because in that version we are not doing poison damage. We prefer to be tough. We prefer not dying in hardcore, obviously. So that's why we're not doing poison damage, and same in the tier 100 pushing variant, we're not doing cold damage. 30 is better than 25, plus all the other things you're scaling here and there. So it's more damage for what we used to have in this place there, the conceded legendary. So it's better, but once again, it's better not to die in hardcore, so we prefer this setup. That's the best setup for hardcore, in my opinion. For speedrunning Nightmare Dungeons, Hell Tides, and Blood Harvests, we're not even including it, because you're running against enemies that are level 100 in Blood Harvest, level 103 in Hell Tides, and in Nightmare Dungeons, maybe you scale it up to tier 70 or 80, 90 if you're feeling ballsy, but you don't really need the extra damage. It's already dealing way too much damage for the health pool of monsters, of enemies. So it's not best in slot to run it there. We prefer to have mana. like to be, do not lack mana at all. We want to be highly mobile, running super fast at 200% movement speed, have dashes and teleports like there's no tomorrow, and to have maximum mana, not needing to go out of our way to generate mana, we want to go fast. So that's why it's definitely not best in slot to include it there. Just look for utility on that build. It's already way overkilled on the damage side. So we're not going to put it in there. For Lilith and Duriel, that's another story. We do want it. And we're going to scale the damage all the way to 60%, dealing poison damage, cold damage thanks to ice blades. In my opinion, that's the best way to apply this tiny bit of cold damage once, because you only need to apply it once, and then it's going to refresh all the way every time you do any type of damage. So pop it once, and the ball lightning is going to do fire damage plus lightning damage and poison damage at the same time. So you just needed to pop it at the start of the fight, never touch it again, just leave it there, available on cooldown. And after 4 seconds out of combat, when this buff, this multiplier elapses, then next fight, when you begin the fight, poof, you pop ice blades and you're good to go again. So in my opinion, that's the best way to activate it. You don't want a spender in that version. You don't want Blizzard or any of those cold damaging spells. Ice blades is perfectly fine. Yeah, getting the 60%. Well, I think last video I was like killing Lilith in 1 minute and 17 seconds, all in all, because there's like some time you cannot go faster when she has to destroy the platforms. I think it was like 10 seconds phase 1, 3 seconds phase 2, and like 1.5 seconds phase 3. So that'll be lower, but you know, it's still overkill. But that's best in slot because you don't need no defense when you're running against Lilith. It's either she one-shots you or you survive. So this setup is the best. Just kill her fast, and we want the Tal Rasha iridescent loop for that. Then comes, well, this one you don't need it yet, but I also updated what, in my opinion, is as per what I know and what I feel like the Abattoir of Zir is going to be, because I played Diablo 3 a lot. I put up a very solid Abattoir of Zir version where you want to be super tanky. I feel like this is going to be the factor that's going to make it or break it into the higher tiers. So it's super solid, super strong. And of course, we want the ring, and we're scaling it all the way to 60%. So more on that from December 5 onwards, or maybe earlier when we get more information from Blizzard. So that's it for the video. Just wanted to give you a quick update. It was requested by many of the viewers to give you hints on what to do with this ring. So definitely farm it. It's best in slot in many builds, including the ball lightning. For the next videos, I'm going to upload the one that's about the conjuration because it's finished. Pretty good, pretty fun build, not as powerful as ball lightning, obviously. But if you want to play something else, this one is definitely fun. You should try it. It's very, very fast at speed farming things. Probably a little bit faster than the ball lightning. For the boss, not so much. It's slower, and for pushing, it's slower, but it's still very powerful and very fun. So I'm going to upload that this week or next week. I'm not sure, because I also want to do a mini series of 2 to 3 videos about PvP. Some of you requested that I cover PvP. So I've been digging a lot lately in PvP, like what has changed since season 1 and stuff. So I want to do a first video where I will recap everything that I know about the hidden caps on PvP, because there's like a hidden cap on armor, on damage reduction, on a few things here and there, on vulnerable and critical strike damage. So I want to recap what I know. Most of the information is gate kept, but some of it can be found here and there. So the first video will be about, okay, what's going on in PvP? Why do you need to have a different build in PvP than in PvE? So it's mostly going to revolve around those hidden caps. Then the next video I want to do is to talk about the meta of the PvP. those thorn barbs, melting ball lightning builds, those firewall socks, poison rogues, and so on and so forth. So I want to give you some hints about what's going on in the meta, what is strong, what is OP, like the Selig Undying Barbs is very strong, you know, because like guess what, when you can't die, PvP is very easy. So right now the king of PvP is the Barb, because it has access to a lot of fury that it's not using, making it basically unkillable. So lots of fun there. Anyway, so I'm going to cover that also, and I'm going to give you everything I know about the current meta, how it's evolving, because it's like a rock, paper, scissors, you know? It's like when something is strong, other builds adapt to beat that one. And when they adapt, they become vulnerable to other builds. So it's a not continuous because it's not changing so often, but that's a rock, paper, scissors type of game there in PvP. So I want to cover that. And in the third or fourth video, I want to cover a few builds that I recommend, having optimized all those breakpoints, defensive and offensive. So, and giving you here's what in my opinion is a very good, very solid PvP, including the Paragon, for you to run if you want to. There's a season journey mission where you have to become the hatred. What's it called again? Can't remember, but you have to kill a bunch of players, like 5, 10, 15 players. So you become the one in the hatred zone, something like that, and you validate this season journey mission. So I want to give you a few builds that you can rock on if you want to do that. Alright, anyway, these videos are already too long, sorry, pardon me, I like to explain things in great details as always. This was Wismeril signing off. A pleasure to have you here. Welcome to everyone that's new. The channel is still growing. Makes me very happy. I wonder what's the ceiling of all that. Because honestly, I started that just as a hobby because I wanted to share the things that I like to do, which is theory crafting, and I see the channel growing. So thanks for joining. Hope you're having a blast. Let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to do differently or covers on other subjects or anything. Just let me know and I'll see what I can do for you. Anyway, Wismeril signing off. You guys and girls have a great day. Bye.